Everyone in real estate has been talking about low inventory now for about the last 3 or 4 years. When a lot of people say low inventory, they're usually comparing it to some other point in time that they're classifying as normal. Compared to pre-pandemic, inventory is really low. And because inventory is so low, that's why it's so hard to find a house. That's why it's so competitive. That's why prices keep going up despite where interest rates are. But then the question is it really low, or is that just the new normal? And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why I think that could be the case, that this could just be the new structural baseline in housing. Now, it's important to know when you're analyzing housing, there's so much that goes into it. The metrics that we're going to talk about right now, we're just looking at numbers and talking about what it used to be and what it is now, and then why it might stay that way. But I want you to realize that population growth, local income, the local economy, all of that new construction, whether you have some or not, like all of that is going to influence how we talk about real estate. But at least in my market, that's the DC Baltimore Metro, there's not nearly enough new construction, and there hasn't been for over a decade. But our population has certainly grown, and the incomes locally have certainly increased quite substantially. So to give you the numbers, in 2023, which is what I'm going to use as sort of the post-pandemic time, I'm going to use the second quarter, which represents the spring market. Then we're going to compare that to what would be normal, 2017, 18, 19, 16, like that whole little mid-2000 teens era. And what you find is pretty shocking. We have 50% fewer new listings. We have 70% less inventory, meaning houses to buy. And we have about 25 to 30% fewer actual closed sales. Much less activity, but that activity is being driven by not a lot of choice. Not a lot to buy, not a lot of good inventory to buy, right? You'll keep hearing that over and over again. But then a lot of people think, well, maybe it'll get better. Like, this isn't gonna stay this way forever, right? But I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why I think that might be possible. Now, the first reason is a mindset shift in housing. Housing used to be a traded asset. It is now a hoarded asset. In the old days, if you bought a house and you were gonna go get a new one, there's a pretty good chance, like 90-some% chance that you're gonna sell that house. You're not interested in being a landlord. But then it sort of shifted. I think the pandemic era of just constant beating the message into people of own as much real estate as you can. Interest rates are really low. You can live off cash flow in the future. It's your path to independence, and quit your miserable day job, buy as many as you can. That mindset became really pervasive. And of course, when everyone locked in these really low fixed rate mortgages, and then you compared that to the rent, the cash flow was real. So it actually made a lot of sense. Like, I don't think poorly of all those people. I'm actually kind of jealous for many of them. The fact that that mindset shifted just pulled inventory out of the market. And the second is going to be pulled forward demand, right? So when interest rates cratered, a lot of things happened. For one, if you take a normal, let's go back to 2019 normal, you might have a group of people living in a 3-bedroom condo, and they might have planned on renting from 2020 to 2025. That was probably their natural life cycle. It'd be normal. But then what happened is they had to work from home, and a portion of those people were tired of working in their bedroom. So there was a push to get your own place, go buy something else. We wound up seeing a bunch of roommate situations turn into 2 or 3 purchases. And then if you take that house hack approach, it turned into those 2 or 3 purchases, then buying another one in 2021, and then trying maybe another in 2022. And then at the same time, we had income increasing. We had student loan forbearances. We had helicopter money. We had crypto craze. You also had family who were feeling very well off, right? Stock market hit an all-time high. Parents, grandparents, they locked in really low debt. It was a feeling of lots of money. Whoever had assets had a lot of assets, and they too helped their kids get into their house. So there was years of that wound up happening. Now, this third point is very easy to understand, that the entire cycle of housing, the normal patterns of people, how long they live in houses, how often they move, that has been completely disrupted and turned on its head as a result of interest rates and how high they went and how fast they went there. You'll hear the interest rate locked in. We locked in a lot of people with these really low payments. And to understand how housing normally works, someone might buy their first place, they're gonna live in that 4 to 7 years. Then they're gonna move, they generally will buy a place, live 7 to 10 years, and they maybe buy their big family house, they're gonna be in there for 15 years, and then they might downsize. Now, what wound up happening is some of the people that bought their first place in 21 or 2, even if they wanted to move, they're like, I can't. payments are too high, prices are too high, I'm stuck. If you were the person that bought that second house and now you're starting to raise some kids and you need more space and you want to sell and move up to your 15-year house, well, guess what? You're stuck. A lot of those people can't afford it. And then if you're the downsizer, yes, you probably have a good bit of equity, but then when you're just looking at payment to payment and you have the really low rate on that mortgage, well, you're less likely to downsize. So you have people that are just frozen in their house. And as long as they're frozen in their house, that's further less inventory on the market. Now, if we go back to that first point of now housing being a hoarded asset, even if interest rates start dropping, and this is a big point, when interest rates drop, housing inventory is going to be fixed. You're going to have more choice and we're going to be off to the races. We're going to be selling more houses, people in the industry, doing more loans. Well, guess what? I think as more people come into the market, because of that hoarder's mindset, you're going to have less inventory. It might actually get worse. So if you're a home buyer, why does any of this matter? And what if I am right? Does that change anything that you do in your buying behaviors right now? And I think the answer is yes. For one, I think you should have some comfort knowing that values will be supported. When you're in a really low inventory market, and wages are going up and the local economy is very strong, which is the biggest thing to focus on, then values will go up. That's just the laws of supply and demand. Now, the second thing is to always be looking. You just constantly need to be on guard because you just don't know when that perfect house comes along. The third is to make sure you have the best team representing you. And I really mean this. So this is not the kind of market for amateurs, for people without a lot of experience. And I'm not big on you need the experienced person, but that person needs to have an experienced network, the team that they're on, the brokerage that they're in, because that person needs to understand when you find the perfect house, what should the pricing strategy be? What should the contingency strategy be? And they'll also know when you should back away from a house. Like, that's too crazy, step away. So really good agents are going to know all of that stuff. The top agents also tend to have really good networks. They know what's going on. They might have opportunities that come their way because the community knows they deal with a lot of buyers. They write really good contracts. They're honest. They're ethical. They get stuff done. So your team is ridiculously important. And the next is something that my wife actually had to do, which is you might have to lower your standards. If you can't find exactly what you're looking for, sometimes you just got to look at it and be like, it's good enough. I can make it work. That is something I'm seeing a lot of people do, right? If you're always looking for a 10 in a low inventory market, a 10 just might not ever come up, like ever. You might have to find an 8 and you might have to fix it up and turn it into a 10. And the last nugget is really just your lease. If you find yourself not finding what you want and you're getting really close to your lease expiration, you're forced to find some other property, make sure your real estate agent looks at your lease so that you know exactly when you can get out of it. That's really important. So I've had many people where they're 3 months into a 1-year lease, they think they can get out just paying 60 days, and then they want to buy the 10, they found a 10, and then they go to look at their lease, they call the management company and they're like, no, you have no outs. You owe us 9 extra months of rent. If you buy that house and you're paying $3,000 a month, you can get out for $27,000. So you want to make sure that your leases are structured in a manner that minimizes your risk should the perfect house come along. It's safe to say if inventory stays low and the economy stays strong, that this housing market is going to chug along exactly like it has been, which is very competitive, very difficult to find the perfect house, but very achievable. If you have the right team and you have the right strategy and you are confident in your approach moving forward. I hope you found value in this video. And if you have, please hit the like and subscribe to this channel because we're going to dive a little bit deeper over time into how the economy is continuing to reshape housing. So I hope to see you in the next video.